I know throughout the day our learners have given us most of the speeches. And therefore, we shall be winding up with an inspiration from our chief guests, and allow me to do a bit of some introduction. Our chief guest is a seasoned public speaker who will be engaging with our learners and with you. He is a character education coach. Equally so, he is a youth mentor. He's a renowned corporate training consultant. He has served as the president of the World Youth Assembly, and the headquarters of this assembly are in Geneva. He has been awarded an International Peace Ambassador in the year 2008 by Martin Luther King Foundation at the UN Gigiri. This award was given after mentoring a record 63,000 young people in a record 17 countries and still counting. The chief guest is currently the principal director of Go Training Consult, an organization providing mentorship and character coaching in schools. Parenting is also in this domain at the Go Training Consult. Parenting, relationship and family values, and coaching, a life coach to parents. This is equally a former parent of Lakewood Emerald Schools. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my honor and singular duty to invite our chief guest, Mr. Gershon Okonda Abunya. Put your hands together for the chief guest.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. The leadership of Lakewood Emerald School, the directors, the principal and the deputies, the management of the school, the parents, teachers, students and our graduates, I greet you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon once again. You know, when you are given a chance to give a conversation at exactly 2 p.m. plus, it requires that one, you be brief, that two, that we connect our conversation with the agenda of the day. And so, just to make a small 10 seconds disruption to bring that attention, may I ask each and every one of us to just stand for 10 seconds. We've been sitting for about 4 hours, and it's important that we bring that attention to ourselves for purpose of concentration. Right, even as you stand up, please look at your left and your right, and look at one neighbor who is smiling at you. Please remind the neighbor, mwambie, neighbor, I love your nose. Can we take a selfie after this? Okay, thank you. You may be seated right now. You know, you could be surprised that you've been sitting with someone who is struggling to have an introduction with you, but sometimes the courage just to say hi is not there. And so it's important as a speaker, I bring that to your attention. Much has been said. The entertainment has sent a lot of information into our ears, and it's our duty now to start internalizing this. I've heard the entertainers, and let me be very particular to the last entertainment we've just received. I'm an introvert by nature, and so I love Taarabu, just because of the message that comes in it, or it comes with it. But of course, I cannot forget to thank the multi-Rumba dancers that have been watching dancing to us since morning. Some of those moves can tell me that it's not just the teacher who taught them, but maybe they also watch your moves at home as parents when you're having your parties. Very specific, I could tell the Rumba dancers from Western Kenya. And now, to start off, because I'm going to be very brief, time is not on our side, and my job is not to give speeches by so saying, but rather to summarize all that have been said in 6 statements, which I don't intend to take more than 15 minutes of your time. Every time I stand to speak to any audience, I always bring it back in 2004, when I was taken through a 3-year public speaking course by my mentor and coach, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, who introduced many of the young people into public speaking. I want to say that the graduation today marks the beginning of the first transition to the PP2 graduates, and just the second transition to those who are in grade 6 now going to junior secondary. What I need to do right now is not to address the PP2 graduates, but rather address them through the parents. I'll only have a statement or two for the graduates of the grade 6, but much has already been spoken to through the director's speech. And so, what are we supposed to do? What makes a transition successful, even as we celebrate this graduation? My first statement goes to the famous letter. A letter was written way back in the early 19th century, and it was a letter by the head teacher to the parents. And this letter marks my first point. I will paraphrase it because of time and be very brief on what the letter was talking about. The principal was preparing parents and told them that, parents, listen, the first school that you took your children is not the school they are in right now, but rather the first school that your children attended is a school called home, where parents become the principals and all other supporting staff in the family becomes the administration. But what happens in that particular school? It is in that school where children are taught magical words. Words like thank you, please, and I'm sorry. It is in the same school called home where parents teach children trust. They teach them sincerity, teamwork, sharing, personal hygiene, how to be orderly and how to be organized. Why is it important to teach these children at that particular age? I'll be very brief on why. That it's important as parents you realize and you learn that children go through different phases even as their mind is developing. But the most important stage, for those of you who did sociology, there is a stage we call the sexual stage. One wonders why it's called a sexual stage, because it happens to children. If it's for baby boys at the age of 1.5 years, and if it's for the baby girls, it happens at the age of 2 years. It's called sexual stage because it is said that children have not developed their brain before they are 2 years of age to know whether male or female. But the time they realize that I'm male for a boy, and when the girl realizes that I'm a girl, something very crucial happens in their life. It is said that that's when the boy starts looking for an opposite sex to bring more closer to him. And it happens that the most dominant female to the boy is the mother. It so happens that for the girl, when she realizes now I'm a girl, she also starts looking for the most dominant male in the surrounding. And that happens to be the verse. Whatever they see you doing, they'll make a copy of the same, and that becomes a foundation when they form their character after 14 years of age. And so my word is, be very careful what you tell your children between age 2 to age 9. To teachers, I tell them, be very careful the recommendation. To teachers, I tell them, be very careful the recommendation and the affirmation that you give to your child, to your learner between age 2 to age 9. To the parents, I will tell you, be very careful what your children see you do. It is said that children are very poor listeners. But guess what? Children are great imitators. You'll give instructions in the morning and tell them, sitaki kuona mkiwatch TV mmaliza homework, sitaki mrukeruka kwa sofa set, sitaki muende wapi, and guess what happens? They will not follow those instructions. They'll wait until you make an ignition of your car and go to work or going for meetings. And one of them who want to be like you will stand up on the table and tell the rest, sitaki kuona mkiwatch hiyo TV. Nataka mmalize homework. Yes, they imitate you in the way you speak. Maybe some of you parents, you don't know that you have great names in the home. If you are so tough, they call you Saddam. If you are a lady, they call you Bensouda. These are some of the terms children are calling you, but you don't know. Bottom line is, they are laying their foundation. Point number 2. There's something called powerful parenting. As you've been listening from the director's speech, that transition comes with responsibilities. And all I can add on that statement is this: listen, and listen to me very carefully. Study has shown that parents, at your social time, at your family time, if you are going to spend up to 65% of parent-child contact time, listen to me very carefully, parent-children contact time, up to 65%, your children will have a very good foundation from you. I'm saying this because I know how busy we can be. I'm saying this because I know how fast life is taking us, how economy is driving our pockets. So sometimes we are compelled to spend more time out there looking for wealth. Equally, I will tell the teachers that a teacher who spends up to 80% of teacher-student contact time is more than guaranteed that the children will emerge successful. A story is told about one great inventor. His name was Thomas Edison, born in 1847. And for those of you who can go read further, these stories all over, that Thomas Edison was considered a child who was too stupid to learn in his school. And one day, the principal gave a small note. Thomas Edison had a Down syndrome. And I like the skit that was put across here about children who don't have fully capabilities, but they have the potential. Thomas Edison had a Down syndrome. He could get things in minimal scale. He could not learn things well. He needed a lot of time with the teacher. And so one day, the letter was written from school, and given to Thomas Edison, who could not even read and tell what the letter was saying. But the little note, when Thomas Edison took this letter to the mother read through it. And she tried to contain herself from tearing. I will tell you what the letter read. But before I tell you what the letter read, I will tell you what the mother of Thomas Edison told the son. Thomas asked the mother, "What is the letter saying?" And the mother said, "The school has written here that you are a genius. That school is not capable of coping up with your speed of learning. You are above average. That if we can teach you ourselves, then you have higher chance of excelling in your life more than any other student." It was until Thomas Edison was 24 years of age and the mother passed on. And so when Thomas Edison was going through the files of his mother in a closed box of her bedroom, he came across that piece of note that was written about 18 years back from the school. And the note read the following: "Please take your child back. He's too stupid to learn." And one question Thomas Edison asked himself: what is it that my mother saw in me that the teachers could not be able to do it? It's called the power of the spoken word. The word you speak to your child, how you make them understand that they are geniuses, they are greater. And Thomas Edison's mind had already been formed that he's a genius. Long story short, it is at the age of 38 that Thomas Edison, through the many mistakes that were made, he became the first man to invent a lighting bulb. The young man who was too stupid to learn. Today, when you switch on your lights at night, remember that young man. It was just the power of the spoken word from the parent that transformed his mind, that stretched him beyond the limit to become an inventor. Many other inventions were made. They say before Thomas Edison died, at the age of 87, he had over 1,047 registered patents. But one of the greatest one was inventing also a phonogram, what we call Kinanda, the one that we used to use record players. He played a role in the entertainment industry. Whom are we talking about, ladies and gentlemen? That young man who was too stupid to learn. So what are we supposed to do on line number 3? Number 1, let us support our children. Parents, the generation you are raising today does not need an inspiration like the one you gave some of us when you were being raised. Children of today are no longer motivated. When you tell them that, you know, when I used to go to school, I never used to have shoes. One parent told his son, "You know what, you guys are very lucky nowadays. During our days, we never used to have shoes." Until I went to Form 1, almost 12 years of learning. And the son asked the daddy, "Daddy, that's being too slow. Why did it take you 12 years to ask for a pair of shoes from your parents?" And when one told them that during our days we did not have school buses, I used to walk to school, and the child asked the parent, as a different child, "Why couldn't you just go to a school that has school buses? Why were you walking to school?" And the story goes on and on and on. What am I trying to say? That we have to change the way we talk to our children. The way they understand it's different. So number 1, let us support our children. It means we need more time with them than any other time. How do we support them? Parents, I know this is a commitment. It's a lifelong commitment. Let's pay our school fees on time. I've been to many schools, to a record 179 schools where I'm doing character education. And sometimes I get so close to our children and they call me Uncle Gary. And one thing I can tell you as parents is that children feel embarrassed when they are called out of class and told to go home because the school fees are not being paid. It can kill their self-esteem. It can kill their confidence. So parents, let's support our children. Another thing is, let us visit schools. Don't wait until it is the parents' day or academic day. That's when you visit the school. I encourage you to have a closer relationship with your teachers. Closer relationship by call, by visit. And as I conclude, when you have a good relationship with your teacher, you're transferring support right from home to school. There are things I can tell you for free that as a parent, you have to take charge. Number one, give parenting a priority. I repeat, give parenting a priority. Create more time for your children. Understand their strengths and their inborn weaknesses. And find and look for consultants and experts who can help you unravel some of these areas where your children are weak. I'll give you an example. I have a friend of mine who has his family in Netherlands. And he told me in Netherlands, Wednesday is no longer a working day. It's parenting day. People don't go to work. They spend their time with their children. Intentional parenting. A legislation is in Parliament where now they are thinking about abolishing boarding schools in that country so that children can be raised in totality by their parents. I'm only giving an example. 2, parenting cannot be postponed. You can't say that I'm too busy looking for a better life that you can postpone parenting. Every single minute, your children are becoming better or worse depending on whom they are spending most of the time with. Don't forget the impact of social media. Don't forget the impact of cybersecurity, security issues in the social media. Parents, be very careful who else is parenting your child. Because it's not just you. Teachers are playing their role. But the world outside here is not fair at all. I conclude by telling you, when I used to be raised up those years in 80s and 70s, the most dangerous thing in our living was the wild animals. Everybody was fair. Everybody was a parent. The community, a child belonged to the parent. Not only just the parent, but also the community. When a child was born in a village, everybody celebrated. I remember my late mom many times, she could tell me, tunaenda kwa jirani, kukunywa chai ya mtoto. And what it really meant, kunywa chai ya mtoto, was that when a child was born, they used to take between 7 days to 10 days to open their eyes. And when the child opened their eyes, chai ya mtoto ilikuwa inapikwa na wamama wote wanaenda kunywa. Parents of today, you can be my witness. You give birth to your child today, na shafungua macho tayari. Most likely anatafuta Wi-Fi password kwa ukuta. Another thing is parenting cannot be delegated. Take personal responsibility. Just like maybe you want to cut your weight and you delegate someone else to go to the gym on your behalf. It can't work. If you want to see the change in your children, please be the example that we want to see. Protect your child from social media. Protect your child from bad content. And they say, I want all parents to say this after me. There was a method that we used to be taught as I conclude. If you say, asiyefunzwa na wazazi, can you finish for me? Rudia tena, asiyefunzwa na wazazi. Now, it has to be adjusted. Mtoto asiyefunzwa na wazazi, atafunzwa na TikTok. It is that bad. And so, I've done my walk through this school as my last statement. Lakewood Emerald School has played its part. If you want to know a good school, you look for it's called the PPI. Number 1, performance. Number 2, the population of that school. And number 3, the infrastructure. All that has been fulfilled in all campuses of Lakewood. I want to give a point of warning to parents. My encouragement is, do not be so happy to keep transferring your children from one school to the other. What CBC is doing is to observe that a child is given a consistent observation from lower primary to upper primary, from junior secondary to senior secondary. My prayer is, if you started the life of your child's education in any Emerald campus, may God help you, may God empower you, that let your child finish their CBC curriculum in Emerald campus. That way, your child is going to be observed through a consistent report until the time they transition. There's a bigger picture in your child. I conclude by saying, as Miles Monroe, who was one of my mentors sometime way back in South Korea, said that in every seed, there's a tree. In every egg, there's a bird. In every boy, there's a man. In every girl, there's a woman. What do you see when you look at your child? Today, we call them young men and women, but whoever is sitting here is a future doctor, a future engineer, a future researcher, and a future president, if possible. May God bless you, and thank you so much.
Powerful, powerful. Thank you so much. That is powerful. Wazazi, a powerful round of applause for such an inspirational talk.